Welcome back to the Forensics Detailing channel. This is a video on my 996 C4S Porsche. And let me just put the garage down so we can get a bit of privacy. Indeed. There he goes. Now I'm thinking of selling this car. Why am I selling this car? Why am I selling this car? Forgive the pause. The deep pause is like, this is one of the most, this is my first Porsche that I've owned. It's one of the most fun cars I think I've ever driven. It's not the fastest car. It's not as fast as the M4. It's a naturally aspirated, I think 3.4 six-cylinder engine. About 300 brake horsepower. It's a manual, which is very important to me. And it's got the perfect amount of power for driving around on the roads, even a circuit, You know, I haven't driven this car on a circuit because I didn't buy it for track driving. It's not an old lady, but it's like, you know, it's like a beyond middle-aged, isn't it? A sort of 20-year-old car. I don't know how they'd handle digressive, but I don't know if it could handle circuit work without you doing a lot of things to it. Now, why did I buy this car? Because I wanted to get into a Porsche. I love Porsches and I wanted to own one. And I think that the 996 always, for me, was in my head at least, the ugly duckling. It's the classic I talked about when I reviewed it. That it's like the ugly duckling, mainly because the headlight design is so kind of different to the other Porsches, and they don't have just the round bit with this little section going off the side. So I always just thought I would, if I ever got a Porsche, it would be something that didn't have these. But then I saw this car and saw lots of 996s and started really liking the lines of the car, especially like the rear end of the car, but even the front end as well, and these channel bits. And from certain angles, I think the 996 looks, and especially the C4S with the grills, I think it's one of the nicest looking Porsches. I don't think everyone will agree though. I don't think everyone will agree on that. But when you own them, they take on a different sort of feel and you really love having it on your driveway and the lines. And I think 996s look amazing. Would I ever get another one? Yeah, possibly. I was round Danny's the other day, the guy with the, who's been on the channel with, he's got two 996s in silvers, both Carreras. So there's no Carrera S in the 996. And like you could get into a Carrera, you know, for about 15 grand. And they're good fun. You know, now this car is almost kind of one down, isn't it, from like the turbo. So it was like as high as you could go before you pay big money. Now let's talk about the money straight away. What do I want for this car? Well, I'm going to put it up for sale for $29,500. You can get these cars, you can get them starting at 20 grand, you can get them, and then they go all the way up to like 35 grand. So this will be, some people will want to pay less. Why are you selling it for 29,500 or listing it for 2,900? Mainly because you will not find very many cars with the Porsche factory carbon. And it doesn't just have one little bit of factory carbon. It's spec'd every single carbon, Porsche factory carbon. They're back there as well, along there. The steering wheel, the center console, the gear stick, the handbrake, even is carbon fibre. The surround to the center console is carbon fibre. So everything is carbon fibre, which was about a £4,000 to £5,000 option back when this car was new 20 years ago, and they were about 60 odd thousand pounds. So that was a big cost. So very, very few of these cars have got carbon fibre. Even the steering wheel in that carbon fibre is worth quite a bit of money just on its own. So that's why I think 29,500 is the price that I should advertise it for. It's done 72 or 73,000 miles. It's got all of its keys. I replaced I've replaced this front fob on this key because it was all worn out. So that's an original Porsche, brand new key fob. So it's got both its keys and some sort of master key, I think, some key without the fob. So two normal fob keys and one unfob key. Where can I see the mileage? Oh, there we go. 72,934 miles, which is, for a 20-year-old car, very low. The car is HPI clear. I'll take that key out. I HPI'd it when I got it, and that HPI check also shows me the mileage usage. So it done most of its miles in the first few years, and then after that, a lot less miles. The car has all of its service history, which we can see here starting back in 2004. It looks like the first one. It's an 03 plate, I think. 2005, 6, 7, oh sorry, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 15. It's getting used a lot less here, but so it only travelled less than 2,000 miles between services there. 16, 18 and 23. So when I got the car, that was done in January this year, it's had a major service at Auto Technics, who are kind of Porsche specialist. Most of these are Porsche specialists service history, I think. Some of them are Porsche dealers or Porsche specialists. It was bought from Brooklands originally. So it's been serviced, it's had a major service this year, and it's done when it had its major service. That's interesting. So I've done 3,000 miles in it in, what, 8 months? So it's quite a lot of miles, actually. No, sorry, I've done 2,700 miles I've done in the car. So that's interesting. I thought I'd done less than that. What else? So I've got all of the paperwork here. So here's some of the work I've had done. I've done the water pump on it because that failed, and I had to do when I did the water pump, we had to do the aux belt, new coolant in it and sundry. So it's got new coolant as well as a fresh water pump. It's had a full geo done on it. There you can see the back of that. Just so the geo is probably the most important thing you can do on the car, isn't it, to get it driving properly. That did make a difference, actually. So it drives straight, tracks straight. It's been set up correctly, and it brakes straight as well. You know, that's just has to be done. Here's all the options on the car. So it's basalt black, and here's all of the things that are spec'd in it. Tinted windows, carbon. Porsche exhaust system. It's got an amazing exhaust on it. Porsche, carbon. Embossed head crest, red seat belts, carbon. Leather lock surround, carbon. And something else, I don't know what that is. It's got tons of paperwork with it. Jeff was the previous owner. It's got all its MOTs. It's had an IMS upgrade kit installed in 2017, which cost £1,485. And I think that involved the clutch being done as well. I don't know, check me on that, but an IMS isn't 1,500 quid. So I think that kit was a clutch as well, I think. The previous owner said it had the clutch done when the IMS was done, and that price seems to confirm that. Clutch feels great on the car. So the IMS has been done, though. That's the important kind of thing. So it doesn't have the early IMS that might be vulnerable, although, you know, the whole IMS thing can be a bit of a worry. But I'm not sure if it's anything really you need to worry about. It's just one of those classic things with Porsches, isn't it? But it's been done anyway, so you've got the peace of mind. It's had work here. It's major service, I think. Both radiators were replaced at some point, so that was good. What else has been done since I've had it? The AOS has been changed at Barnsport in Bournemouth. So the air oil separator was failing on it. So they diagnosed that and replaced that. That was about 700 quid. The major service was about £1,000. It had 2 coil packs replaced as well when I had that major service done. It's had that water pump done. Yeah, so pretty much that's like all of the work that I've had done by other people. And there's loads and loads of paperwork. Some of it's just servicing, yeah, balancing wheels. That's the original receipt from Autobahn, I think. This is old paperwork, but it's all, you can see the full history of the car. You can go back, when is this? What's the date on this? 2007. So you're going back decades here with everything that's been done on the car, which is always nice to have. It's even got all of its old MOTs going back, you know, going back for a long time. So it's got all of its paperwork basically. So that's a good bit of information for anyone wanting to buy the car. What else was I going to talk about? Some of the things I did. The door was just knocking because both the bolts were missing underneath here that pulls it all in. So I put those bolts in. The other thing that I did, I haven't published a video yet, but I did a video on it, is I changed the LCD screen for the climate control because it had a dead cell in it. Down here, one of these cells had gone. It was driving me potty, so that's got a new screen in there, and that all works properly. The nicest thing about this car is the interior. It is different having this carbon in here, and it does make it feel really, really special. I haven't repainted these seats because I didn't feel like I needed to. I mean, you could recolour them, but you know, they're good condition. There's no holes or anything. There's just a little slight bit of wear, but even the paint's still on there, so you wouldn't really want to paint those. I wouldn't anyway. I want it to look like it should. You know, you can make everything look brand new if you like. What else have I had to do? Nothing much. It's been polished. Oh, I tell you what. Another thing that I've had done is this rear quarter. If you follow the channel, when I first walked around the car, I think there was a deep scratch through the paintwork right here. So this, I had a temporary smart repair done just to get me through it. But about a month ago, I've had edge to edge all the way down there, all the way down there. So there's no, you know, there's no blending or smart repairs. It's been repainted, and the paint job is really good. It's really good. So yeah, I mean, the paint on the car generally is better than you're going to find. I'm just getting the light back so you can actually see. It's better than you're going to find on most Porsche 911s, unless it's really like a show car. That, you know, you can search over it and you'll find the odd swirl mark. There's one right in the middle somewhere there, you know, the odd light swirl, but you can get an idea, just so you can see that you can see the swirls there. Where are they? There's one right there where my thumb is. Let's get the light there. Hold on a second. Well, there is a swirl. There's swirls on it, but very, very few, and you'll struggle to find one with, you know, I think you'll struggle to find one that looks as good as this. The alloys are not, there's no curb marks on any of the alloys. They've been ceramic coated. I took the coating off of this side of the car because I knew I needed the rear quarter being painted. I wasn't sure if he was going to paint the whole side in the end, but he hasn't. But when I buffed the coating off this side, I figured I'll take the coating off of the whole car. So I've just done a finishing polish over it to remove the coating, and it's just going to have a wax on it or something like that. Why Well, you could recoat it if you wanted to. Just whiz over it and then recoat it. But I think generally for me, especially with a black car, you know what I'm like, polishing his car again. You know what I'm like. So yeah, it would just be like waxed or sealed or whatever you want really. Tyres are all pretty new. You're not going to have to change those. The discs were done at some point not too long ago. The pads were done. So you've got plenty of brakes. Let's start it up. I've got the key now. I haven't driven it for probably over a week. Now it's clean. I don't really want to drive it. Make sure it's in neutral. Should really drive these if you're going to start them, but this won't do any harm just to tick it over. Oh, there we go. Thought the battery was flat. I'm going to have to bring the garage up or I'm going to end up choking out on fumes. There we go. It's got, if you can hear me, it's got a really nice, the best thing about this car is the exhaust note. See, there's no smoke or anything like that. No puff of smoke when it starts. I had it, if you can hear me, I had it bore score checked at Auto Technic and it passed that. So the engine should be really good. Just give it a little blip. Where's the... It sounds amazing. I'm going to turn it off. Put that garage door down. It sounds amazing. One of the nicest sounding cars I've ever driven. It has a roar and a rasp to it, but it's not. It's a completely different noise to my M4. Like the M4 has a bit of burble and back, you know, like the bit of overrun when you come off the throttle. But it's not the same noise. This really kind of rasps when you're accelerating, and it's lovely. The handling, the chassis on the car is amazing. The headlights, so I haven't, these are yellowing and they're still not 100% perfect, but I didn't want to go through the clear coat on them because these are kind of good enough for me. But if you're a perfectionist, you could sand these down if you really wanted to, take all of that old clear coat off, key them and then lacquer them, or sand them all down, polish them up and then PPF them. The only other thing on the car that might be controversial, double quote, is I've got just a slight tint on the tail light. It's not a really strong tint, you can see it kind of there, but at certain angles it looks black, especially in the afternoon sun, and it just makes the back of the car look so cool because it draws your eye to that line rather than that being all white. I didn't want to go with really dark tint because they can be a bit too much, but I just think that looks so much better. Good news is if you don't like that, just peel it straight off, whip it off, done. Some people just might want it all stock. Apart from that, this car really is stock. Yeah, it's stock. Even, you know, the suspension, you know, it would perhaps look good on spacers and just drop down a little bit, but I didn't even want to do that with it. I just wanted to keep it really stock. What needs doing on it still? What's not perfect? Well, the calipers could probably do with a repaint, and the Porsche, the rear ones are okay, or the Porsche decals, but the front ones, the Porsche decals have faded, so they could do with a refurb. The only other thing is that parking sensor there. Sometimes it just goes faulty, and if you push it with your finger, it works again. It might be good for a month, or it might start beeping again. So I'm going to look for another parking sensor. That's the only thing that I haven't got round to fixing. I'm going to try and fix that this week. Yeah, brilliant car. Anyone that's driven them or has experienced them or whatever will know what they're all about. They're a relatively small, proper sports car with the engine at the back. Really, really get the power down out of a corner. Drive them slightly differently. You want to be very careful with them at high speeds. You know, if the front feels light, be careful. Front is light. But great. They really put the power down. And you can drive them in a really sporty way in any kind of conditions. And you can't with the M4. It's too fast to the road. It can't put its power down in the wet. And the problem with the M4 as a road car is you accelerate so quick up the road, you've eaten up the road and you're into the corner before, you know, and you're having to get on the brakes. And it's just the dynamics of the M4 for road driving are just too much power. Great on the track, don't get me wrong, the M4 is amazing on the circuit. But for poodling around the road, what have I done with this Porsche? I've taken it to Porsche shows, just really enjoyed owning it and really enjoyed driving it. And it's a cracking car. It's got me addicted into Porsches, and I want to get, at some point, another Porsche. So this will go, and I'll get another Porsche. What Porsche are you going to get, John? Well, it's not going to be a new one, I don't think. I love the look of the 992s. There was one point where I was really tempted to get a 992, but it's just the money. And the 992 is going to be giving me a feel. It's going to be a closer feel to the M4, where everything's nice and new and smooth and no rattles and stuff like that, you know, no niggles. Plain sailing, but too much power to enjoy on the road. And I don't want a Porsche as a track car. That's what my M4's for, really. So what I'm thinking is perhaps a 991, which I think look amazing, and like they're coming down in price, but they're still a bit pricey, aren't they? So I would only be able to get like a base 991 probably, or a 991 Carrera S, but even those are pricey. But probably a 997, which then goes back into that era of car where it's smaller still, lighter, a bit more mechanical, and also whatever car or Porsche I get next, I don't want to get like anything that I can't play around with, because it's you know, you'll sort of ruin the car. With the 4S, you can't really play around with it because it'll ruin it for the next person. Whoever buys this will want an OEM one, I think. So if I got just like a 997 Gen 1 Carrera or Carrera S, probably a Carrera S, or even a Gen 2, they're not that rare. They're not that expensive, and I can just mess around with it and make it my own. You know, really do a real cool project. You know, maybe change the seats, strip it all out, change the rear bumper, change the alloy wheels, put it on coilovers, change the front splitter, you know, the front bumper like Martin's done on his black one with the aero one, and just make something that you've actually created. That's what I want to do. And I want to experience probably the 997 next. So that's my reason for sale. But I'm not going to rush into buying one. I'll just wait for the right one to come up. Perhaps that might take a year, might take even longer. Yeah, so I am struggling with 3 cars. One's in storage, which makes it slightly easier, but then one's always in the garage, one's always outside. You're forever cleaning the one that's outside. It kind of works because I can flip them around, but then you're insuring 3, you're taxing 3, you're having to MOT 3. My E36 is enough of a challenge to keep that running, because every year it comes around, something's broken on it. There's some niggle. It's nothing ever major, but it's just something. What are you getting into when you get into a 996? Well, yes, it is a 20-year-old car. When it comes to MOT time, it's good to have a good specialist that you can take the car to that does a proper MOT on it, where you're not actually just wanting the car to go straight through. You're wanting them to really maybe pay them for an hour's labour to do a full yearly check on the car to keep on top of anything that might need doing on the car. So that's what I did when I got the car. I had the 110-point check done on it, and just got them to to fix any things that I thought needed doing, because I just wanted it all done and solid. So yeah, there you go. I think this is a good 996, and you will struggle to find one with full Porsche carbon. You'll find loads of them out there between 25 and 30 grand, but none. I don't think you'll find any with that full interior Porsche carbon. That was one of the reasons I bought it, because it was just a little bit different. So let's just go and open it up and give you a side shot. Oh, while we're here, let's show you all of the areas. As far as I know, every single button works. You know, every single button works, and nothing is wrong with it. Ow. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll disconnect that after it if I'm not using it. So there's the cover for that. That's all. This trim has been ceramic coated. Do with a little wipe down. Just gets you get a bit of water in there, don't you? So that's the front engine compartment. That battery, I think, is reasonably new, so you shouldn't have any issues there. And then in the back, that badge is a bit tatty. Not sure what you can do with that. And then there's the engine bay, and it's all just completely stock. Just completely stock. I like this bit. It comes up when you drive, I was going to say beyond 88 miles an hour. I think it's 60 or something. It pops up. It's quite cool. Very cool car to drive. So there you go, guys. So if anyone's interested, I'll stick my email in the description of this video. What else will I do? If I've got it on, you know, if I've put it on any advertising sites, like Auto Trader is probably the best one to do, but I don't know, you know, I'll put it on Auto Trader. I might try eBay. I'll put it on the channel first, because you never know, someone might want it. Saves me paying to advertise it. If it doesn't sell, I might stick it on something like Collecting Cars or something, because I think, oh, it's got sports seats as well in there, so they're pretty cool. Pretty cool, but if you're big, those sports seats, if you've got a huge frame, biceps and muscles and barrel chest, bigger, those sports seats, they're not the best. They're not the best. They're all right, though. You just get a bit more support up here, but I don't cup properly into these because I'm too big. Oh, yeah, you can't adjust. This is a 996 thing. I don't think you can adjust the steering wheel height as well, which is a bit of a thing if you're really big. Leg space down to the pedals is pretty nice, so you can put the seat back. It's got, is it electric seats or these manual seats? No, I think they're manual. I think they're manual seats. So perhaps the only thing it hasn't got is heated seats and electric seats, if those are an option. Yeah. So there we go, guys. That gear stick is really, really cool. I haven't put the short shifter on it. There is quite a lot of travel, you know what I mean, on the stock gear stick. It's quite a longer throw than the short shift, but I thought about it and just thought, just keep it as it is, because whoever's buying it might want it to be that way. And breathe. So anyone interested, contact me through the description. Let me know if you think I'm making a good decision or a bad decision, because a bit like when I sold my M140, I wasn't 100% sure if it was the right thing to do. I really loved that car. I will miss this when it goes. I really will. But I can always get another one if I decide that the 997 project isn't right, you know. I was always of the opinion the 997 was better, but I'm sort of changing that opinion now. Talking to Danny, he's always telling me the 996 is better. The 996 is rawer. It is rawer. Yeah, I don't know. So maybe there's a possibility I could get another 996, maybe just a sort of cheap Carrera, you know, high mileage one, silver one that I just blast about in. But this is something a little bit different, and I think it's something a little bit more special. And yeah, I will miss it. It's a really, really cool car. So thank you for watching, guys. And hopefully this has shown you the car as well, so you've got a good idea. Oh, there is, for anyone watching, there is the glass on here is pretty good, but it's the original glass, and there is a chip, but it's right out the way, and you can see a little bit of windscreen wiper rubbing there. So there's a chip there, but the rest of it seems to be okay. The rest of the glass on the car is okay. Thanks for watching. What would you buy? Would you sell this? Would you sell it? And if you were selling it to make way for another car, maybe a Porsche, what would you go for and why? That will give me some ideas as well. Okay, there she is. Over and out.